soon. The appearance day of Ramachandra is coming. And I thought it'd be nice to prepare, or warm us up for greeting Ram Navami by having some topics about Lord Ramachandra. Now in ISKCON, we're mainly focused, there's exceptions, but mainly focused on Krishna. But you probably know some devotees, and they're mainly focused on Ramachandra. And boy, do they love Ram Leela. I'm going to ask a question of our younger generation devotees here. See if anybody knows. Yeah, okay, I get it. Well, because you're on the hot seat. Let's see. What is the meaning of the name Purushottama? Purushottama. Purushottama. That's 3 times. What is the meaning? Purushottama. What does Purusha mean? You're terrified. Purusha means person, or ultimately, so the supreme person is Uttama, Purushottama, the topmost person. You know, Purusha, Prakriti, the enjoyer, and the enjoyed, Purusha, Prakriti, living entities, they're tiny Purushas. And then there's the Supreme Purusha. And the Supreme Purusha is Uttama. You know the meaning of Uttama? Topmost. Uttama. Uttama. Purushottama. So that's the name of the Supreme Lord, Lord Ramachandra. And then there's a nice adjective. Let's see if our other, he's kind of terrified. What's the meaning of there's an adjective about Ramachandra. Let's start with our youth and see if others know. Maryada. Maryada. From our youth first, not everybody. What does Maryada mean? Anyone know? You know what that means? No? You know? Needs what? Respect. Anyone else? Yes, back there. Essence? Ethics, yes. Ethics. Maryada Purushottama is one of the names or the ways of describing Lord Ramachandra. Simple definition. He who strictly follows Vedic rules and regulations, you know, there's the plus and then there's the minus, and never transgresses them. So the topic this evening is one of the 2 decisions of Lord Ramachandra that bring question to his never transgressing Vedic rules and regulations. One of them was his killing Bali from behind a tree and all that, right? Like, what? So Bali said what Bali said. Why'd you do this? And then Ramachandra personally gave the response. It was not a transgression of rules and regulations, Vedic rules and regulations. It was completely in accord. And that he was to be punished by death was also according to Vedic principle because of what he did. Cohabit not only with another man, but his brother's wife. Bad stuff. So he's to be punished with death penalty, etc., etc. So there's another one that we're going to be speaking about, and that's, I put it in parentheses, Sita's exile. So some persons ask, wait a minute, etc., etc., etc. She had already, okay, there was a question. She had already proven her chastity with, of course, there's different versions of Ramayana, but she entered into fire and came out of the fire carried by Agni, etc. So it wasn't, again, there's different versions, but you know the story that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was convincing a Brahmana who was a Ram Bhakta, Sita wasn't kidnapped. And then he went down to South India, Kurma Purana, confirming Sita wasn't kidnapped. It was a Maya Sita. You know that one? Yes? Yes. Yes. Okay. Maya Sita. So he came back. Here's the copy. And he was very happy. So Sita wasn't kidnapped, but Maya Sita, at least according to Kurma Purana. And she had proven herself to be perfectly chaste. Because there was this pause after the battle in Lanka, where Ram wasn't prepared to accept her until she proved her chastity. So that was done. Perfectly chaste. And with all of that, she's sent into exile. And not only that, she was 5 months pregnant. Now, how's that Maryada Purushottama? That never transgresses. But so the wife is to be protected, not. So it seems like a transgression. So we're going to spend some time with this. And for starters, this is one of the Shikshastika verses. Let's say it together. Aslishava pararatam panashtumam adarshanam marmahatam karotava yata tatava vidadhatu lampato matprana natastusta eva napar. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord unconditionally. So this is just a warm-up. Some of you know that when Ramachandra departed, his pastimes ended. There were a handful of his dear devotees that he requested they stay behind. Who were those who were some of the handful of devotees? Two very prominent ones. Hanuman, Jambavan. Yes. So, what was the assignment for Hanuman? The assignment for Hanuman was, for the rest of the creation, sing my glories. And he is. And where is he doing that? 5th canto, chapter 19, Kim Purusha Varsha. Where's Kim Purusha Varsha? Well, you look at the 5th canto and you'll find there's different tracts of land or varshas that are in between mountain ranges and another mountain range. So one of those is Kim Purusha Varsha. That's where Hanuman is. And here's a statement by Hanuman. Since Lord Ramachandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, he is not attached to anything in this material world. He is the most beloved supersoul of all self-realized souls, and he is their very intimate friend. He is full of all opulences, therefore, he could not possibly have suffered because of separation from his wife, nor could he have given up his wife and Lakshmana, his younger brother. To give up either would have been absolutely impossible. That's Hanuman's opinion. It's something like the sun and the sunshine. You can't separate them. That's Sita and Ram. You can't separate them. So, in other words, it's pastime, but they cannot be separated. And who is the Ramayana fan that knows about Lakshman being separated from Ramachandra? The inseparable Lakshman, just like Balaram or Nityananda, Lakshman and Ram, inseparable. Were they separated in Leela? What was that circumstance? You know. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. You got the whole story. But why was Lakshman separated from Ramachandra? It has to do with the departure of Ramachandra. Who knows that one? You know that one? Yes. But that's not the answer. I mean, what you said is true. Yes. Yes. Did you hear that? Say it again. You got it. Yamaraj came. Yamaraj. And so say slowly, clearly. No interruption.
No interruption. Nobody can.
Yes.
Then Ramchandra said, I give you my word. If anybody enters, then I will give you. I mean, he put Lakshmana as the guard and said, you be here, and then anybody, don't allow anybody to enter, otherwise I will give him the death.
And then?
And then Durvasa Muni came to meet Ramachandra, and he said, Lakshman said he's discussing something with someone, so you cannot enter. So he said, if I don't, then I will destroy the whole Ayodhya. So he was in very anger mode. So Lakshman has to go enter, and then because he doesn't want to kill so many people, so he said, okay, I will give my life, but I'll give the message to Ramchandra.
Towards the end, it's in the final kanda. It's not necessarily chronologically, but that's so he had to keep his word. Ramchandra's Maryada Purushottama. But it's not possible. I mean, from Hanuman's point of view, it's not possible that he could have given up his wife and Lakshmana. It's a pastime. Clear? There's lots of mysteries in Ramayana. Okay, so here's a nice painting from a scene in Padma Purana where there was a washerman named Krodhana. Krodhana. Krodha means anger. Krodhana. And Krodhana, so what Ramachandra did was what kings would sometimes do. They would send their, the modern times they call it intelligence, and more conventionally it's spies. He would send spies to go here and there in the kingdom and find out not what they're saying nice things to him, but are they saying things behind his back? What's going on out there? So spies would go out and they report back, and everything was fine, and everything was fine, and everything was fine. But one of the spies heard, and he didn't want to tell. He didn't want to tell. But finally he told. And he told that there's this Krodhana, washerman, that was criticizing Lord Ramachandra. I am not King Ram, who had protected Sita, who had stayed in another's house. Indirectly, he's criticizing Ram. He's not just saying Ram is above the law, because kings are above the law. But I'm not like him. My wife was out of the house overnight, and I can't accept her back. And not only was Sita out of the house for one night, she was, and Ram is accepting her back. It was a criticism of Ram, Maryada, the ethics of Ramchandra. So there's a little document I'm going to send out after the fact. There's a little document that describes the previous birth of the washerman, and the author of this previous birth of the washerman is Shyamasundar Prabhupada disciple, astrologer, and kind of a scholar. And he describes the previous birth of the washerman. The previous birth of the washerman was he and his parrot wife were singing the glories of Ramayana. And singing the glories because Valmiki wrote Ramayana before it happened. Because like Vyas, he could see before things happened what happened. And the parrots, male, female, were at his ashram. So they were hearing, and later they came to the same place where Sita was as a young girl, and singing and singing and singing. And the part that she was particularly fascinated with was she heard who she was going to marry. Woo, woo, woo. Tell me more about what he... And so the two parrots said, we can't tell you more. We only know what we heard. And she said, come on, I want to know. And they said, well, we don't know. So Sita decided, she would put the female bird in a cage until the male bird told her what she wanted. And when the female bird was in the cage, she was complaining, look, I'm pregnant and I can't be separated from my husband. And she was going mad. And the male bird came to Sita and said, let my wife go. This is not right. She's pregnant. And Sita didn't let the pregnant parrot, go. So the female, out of madness, she left her body right in the cage. The male bird then cursed her. And the curse is that just as I have had to be separated from my wife, you will also undergo the same tribulation. Now, one of the nomenclatures of bird is Dvija. You know that one? Dvija, twice born, because birds are born first from an egg and then next the eggs hatch. And so Brahmanas are Dvijas, so the curse of a Brahmana has to be upheld. The male bird flew into the river and drowned, gave up his life. And the female bird, she died in a cage. So there's a little document that you'll see. This fulfilled what happened with Sita being sent to the forest. One of 7 explanations is it was prophesied, or the curse of Dvija. That's from Padma Purana, and similarly, not same, but similarly, this is from Garga Samhita, where the washerman is saying, I will not maintain you a sinner that returns at dawn from another's house. Ramachandra, who is greedy to enjoy with his wife, may continue to maintain his Sita, but I am not like him. Pretty harsh. And that's what the spy heard. Lord Ramachandra had no wish to punish him. And in due course, this person became a washerman in Mathura at the end of Dwarpa Yuga. Who's the washerman at the end of Dwarpa Yuga? When Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys were entering into Mathura, they encountered a washerman. Yes? And very politely, Krishna said, you have so many pieces of cloth. Please, the cowherd boys, we should enter into Mathura properly dressed, so please give some cloth. And you know what the washerman said? Rah, 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 rah. If the king heard what you're saying, you're finished. These are the clothes of the king. You better watch your step, and insulting the cowherd boys. So Krishna didn't mind being insulted, but he was insulting the cowherd boys. So what did Krishna do? He did something similar as he did with Kubja. With the tips of his fingers, he lifted the washerman's head and separated the speaking part of his body from the rest of his body. And that's what's shown over here. There's the washerman with his head separated from his body. To stop his blasphemy, Lord Krishna killed him. Then the Lord, who was an ocean of mercy, gave him liberation. So it's several lifetimes. There's another painting. There's the washerman and the cowherd boys trying out new clothes. Here's another painting of the same pastime. Okay, so that's one explanation, Krodana. In Uttarakhanda, this is the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas point out a specific section where Sita requested Ram to again spend time in the forest with the sages after they returned to Ayodhya. And the Acharyas in Sri Vaishnava line, Sita desired to have her delivery in the forest among the sages. Explicitly. That was, my understanding is that the second part is their interpretation or their commentary on this request that she made. But in any case, it was her desire. It wasn't just, a punishment. Here's a third. Very important. This is Sita. You already described what Sita said when Lakshman wouldn't go fetch Ram. Sita said to Lakshman when Lakshman wouldn't go to fetch Ram, go immediately, he's calling out. And Lakshman was fixed. He said, stay here and protect you. I'm not going anywhere. And then Sita started saying nasty things. aha, all this time we've been in the forest and you have just been waiting for the opportunity to be alone with me. We'll forget it because my life is only for Ramachandra, and your diabolical desire to enjoy me is never going to happen. And he was like shocked. How could you think this? And then she kept going. Da, 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 da. If you don't go, I'm going to give up my life. I'm going to enter into fire. Go protect Ram. That's Sita. Go protect Ram. But go protect Ram. To do it the way that she did it wasn't nice. And according to explanation of acharyas, this is an offense to a great devotee, not only a great devotee. He is in the Sri Vaishnava line, they liken the role of Lakshman to Guru, just like Balaram in relation to Krishna. You know this from Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's Guru, because he gives Krishna. And Lakshman gives Ramachandra. He is the spokesperson of the teachings of Ramachandra. And to offend Vaishnava is one of the 10 offenses. To offend a guru is off the charts. So here she is. Now, this is totally out of character, but it's part of the drama. And there's consequences. So, like in different Ramayanas, this one is showing, it's not in Valmiki Ramayana, but he took his bow and made a circle around the cottage and said, just don't step outside. You'll be protected. And she stepped outside and she was not protected. But whether the Valmiki Ramayana doesn't have that episode, but she offended. Now, let's go a little bit into what Rupa Goswami writes about offense to someone who is very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 2 types of grave offense: offense to the dearest devotee or to Krishna himself. Even real bhava is destroyed. Krishna preshta aparad. Krishna preshta, one who's very dear to Krishna, Krishna preshta. And who can be more dear to Lord Ramachandra than Lakshman? Inseparable. Inseparable. So, offense. Why? This is one explanation. Why what happened because of her offense. And even the goddess of fortune isn't, so it's not okay to make offense. Anyway, that's an explanation. Now it's pastime. It's not. It's a totally out of character circumstance to speak the way she spoke. There's more details. Here's another example. There's 7. Here's 4. Khyati, who's the wife of Bhrigu. That's a nice painting of Bhrigu. Bhrigu Muni, according to Matsya Purana, there was a circumstance where the demons were fleeing from the demigods, and the demons took shelter of Khyati in their ashram. So when the demigods approached to attack the demons, Khyati was ready to kill the demigods to protect those who had taken shelter of her. When Indra approached Vishnu, help, he cut off Khyati's head, Vishnu, from Matsya Purana. And then when he came back to his ashram, Bhrigu saw his wife with his separated head, understood what happened. Just as I became separated from my wife, Vishnu will also be separated from his wife at some point from Matsya Purana. So the statement of a Brahmana is upheld by Maryada Purushottama. Although it was Vishnu, not Ramachandra, still. Pretty compelling. Let's go one more. Common, this is easy to understand. Ramachandra had his personal desire to be always with Sita, but he subordinated his personal desire in favor of the interests of his citizens, because the citizens shouldn't be disturbed. And if they were disturbed, then he separated his own interest over their interest. Complete personality will do like that. Here's a very interesting one. The love between Sita Devi and Sri Ram is very intense and confidential. Sri Ram, in order to remove any blame or criticism of Sita Devi, sent her away to Valmiki's ashram to be cared for by him. By this act, he forever ensured that all sympathy would be directed towards Sita Devi, and he bore the blame for such insensitive act. This actually is his love for her. And something quite similar, different but similar. Instead of considering the idea that Sita Devi was unfit for Ayodhya, Sri Ram deemed that Ayodhya was unfit for chaste ladies, such as Sita. Therefore, in order to care for her, he sent her to Valmiki's ashram, where she would be lovingly cared for. Moreover, this move would immunize the children from having to hear criticism about their mother. Looks pretty squeaky clean, right? He's not violating Dharma. Here's a very interesting section from Madhvacharya's writing. Some of you know Madhvacharya really liked Mahabharata. I mean, he really liked Mahabharata. He wrote commentary on the Bhagavatam, but he held special stature to Mahabharata. And in Mahabharata, there's histories, and one of the histories that happened before Mahabharata was the history of Ram's Leela. So there's details and details in Mahabharata about Ram's Leela, and he writes commentary about Ram's Leela in this celebrated work, Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya. Interesting. A demon received a benediction. For as long as Lakshmi and Narayana are united, I cannot die. Very clever, because Lakshmi and Narayana can't be separated. So as long as Lakshmi and Narayana are united, I cannot die. He thought Lakshmi and Narayana can never be separated. For this reason, the demon requested this benediction. However, Lord Ram was separated from Sita. Indra killed that demon. Then Ram had planned he would call her back. That's Madhvacharya. Then what happened? What happened was the two boys were born in the ashram of Valmiki. And around this time, one of the four brothers, Shatrughna, was given an assignment to go deal with Lavanasura, and to go from Ayodhya to Madhupuri, which is Mathura. He passed through Valmiki's ashram. He witnessed the birth ceremony of the two boys, etc., etc. And then he went and dealt with Lavanasura. Do you know who's Lavanasura? You've heard his name? Lavana. he's an asura, he's a demon, and so there's some details. But he was a king in what was then called Madhupuri, today called Mathura. And there's a whole story. He had a spear that was invincible, and he was told, Shatrughna was told again and again by different persons, don't deal with him, he's got that spear. Here's how you can get him when he goes out in the morning to gather food. He doesn't carry the spear. That's when you should deal with him. So, very powerful. He dealt with Shatrughna. It looked like he was knocked dead, but he wasn't dead. He was unconscious, and he went inside to get his invincible spear. And then Shatrughna finished him. He came to external consciousness and finished him. So then, Shatrughna ruled in Madhupuri for 12 years. And after 12 years, he was feeling great separation from Ramachandra. So he went back to Ayodhya. And on his way back, he saw the two boys. And when he saw the two boys, it was amazing what they had learned. They had learned all scriptures from him, and everything that a young prince needs to know, Valmiki trained them in scripture and in archery and in music. He taught them how to sing Ramayana using musical instruments. And when Shatrughna heard this, he was thinking, wow, they should go back to Ayodhya and sing Ramayana for the pleasure of Lord Ramachandra, my dear elder brother. So arrangements were made, except he didn't disclose who these two boys were. And when they went back to Ayodhya, and they were singing and singing and singing and singing, Ramachandra loved it so much. And so Ramachandra, as if he was a worldly man, didn't exhibit his omniscience. When he was told, these are your sons, Valmiki was there. Valmiki said, these are your boys. He was swooning. And Sita had come also. Here's their musical performance. You see the two boys in the front, etc., etc., etc. And then the fateful event. Sita was feeling, if I remain here in Ayodhya, some blame may come to Ram. So she didn't want blame to come to Ram. So she made this loud declaration, different words. If I have never even thought about anyone other than Ram, then may the earth goddess grant me shelter. As I worship only Ram in my mind, speech, and action, so may the earth give me space. Because where does she come from? The earth. She's going to go back into the earth. If I have truthfully said that I know only Ram as my Lord, let the earth receive me now. And much to everybody's amazement, a big hole opened up in the earth, and there was Bhumi, Mother Earth, and a seat was made for Sita, and she entered back into the earth. Now here's Lord Ramachandra seeing all this, and he didn't like it. There's the two boys seeing their mother disappear back into the earth. Ram looked down at the earth, becoming angry. He said, "Oh, goddess, you should return Sita to me, or you will feel my wrath. Sita was formerly brought out from your womb. Thus, you are my mother-in-law. Therefore, be kind to me and return Sita, or else grant space to me also. I will stay with Sita wherever she has gone, whether it be heaven or the nether region. O earth goddess, hear my words, or else I will destroy you with all your mountains and forests. He was angry, and he's all powerful. He reached for his bow by his side. Fortunately, Lord Brahma was hearing all this, and he spoke, audible, so everyone could hear. O Rama, Lord of all the worlds, do not be grieved. Remember your identity as Vishnu. By your arrangement has this separation from Sita been ordained. The pure and noble daughter of Janaka has gone to celestial realms where you will see her again without doubt. Now, Ramayana speaks of celestial realms, and we are accustomed to hearing, the Vaikuntha realm, Ayodhya in the spiritual world. So there's different language, celestial realms and Ayodhya in the spiritual world. But that's a consistent type of language in Ramayana. And last, two other things. These two, there's three. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat both, the internal spiritual potency of the Supreme Personality Godhead has divisions. And those three divisions are Shri, Bhu, and Nila. Like, for example, those of you that have seen worship in Sri Vaishnavism, there's the main deity, and then there's the Utsav deity. And the Utsav deity, smaller, and by the Utsav deity's side, there's Shri and Bhu. Meaning, not Bhu as in the earth, but Bhu as in the internal potency. Because the earth is an expansion of the internal potency. Everything is an expansion from the spiritual realm. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu married, he married Lakshmi Priya. Lakshmi Priya, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, she is Shri Shakti. And then she left her body when he was gone for some time. When he returned, his mother requested to please marry again. So he did, at her request, when he was 20. And the marriage was with Vishnu Priya. Vishnu Priya, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, is Bhu Shakti, Shri and Bhu. Vishnu Priya, Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya. And then there's a third. It's a detail. But Nila Shakti. Nila Shakti manifests the abode of Lord Chaitanya. Shri Bhu and Nila. So Navadvip Dham is a manifestation of that internal potency and is as spiritual as Lord Chaitanya, or as spiritual as his two consorts. So this Bhu Devi, that's the material goddess, and she is to be respected like energy of the Supreme Lord is to be respected. Last slide, a very well-known, any Sri Vaishnava persons here in the room? Yes? You're familiar with Pillai Lokacharya? One of his writings is Tattvatraya, And in this writing, Tattvatraya, he speaks specifically about the characteristics of Sita's separation from Ram. And it has to do with those of us that are not Sita. She's setting an example of separation from Ram and desiring liberation. Mumukshupadi. So he has these three terms, which I'm not going to go into the detail because it's late. But para dukkam. We know what dukkha means. Distress. Para dukkha. Feelings of separation from Sita towards Ram. Para tantiam. Para tantiam. It's the desire to be always in Lord Ramachandra's service. And ananya hatvam. There's no other shelter but Ramachandra. So I'll send you a document that goes over details of this and some other things just from this evening. So you can read up a little bit and not have me surprise you with what does Maryada Purushottama mean and things like that. Quarter to 9. Any discussion?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the class. My question is, the Sita who spoke disrespectfully towards Lakshman, was it Maya Sita or original Sita?
There's a college question for you. I don't know of any authoritative statement that says one or the other. The Maya Sita was kidnapped by Ravana. Sita has not been kidnapped yet by Ravana. So the reasonable assumption, without scriptural authority behind it, is it's the actual Sita. Complying with the will of the Supreme Lord to do what she did. Actually, yeah. Here's a detail. It's something that happened before that. The Sri Vaishnava commentators say, never, ever, ever, that's 3 times, Sita desired something separate from Ram. However, when she saw the deer, she desired something for herself. Oh, I want the deer. Da 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 da. Out of character. From that point, according to the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas, she's showing by example living entities misusing their free will and desiring enjoyment separate from the Supreme Lord. It's not Sita. It's out of character Sita. But from that point on, she gets whammied and does things. But it's not specifically that the juncture where it's Maya Sita. Because in Valmiki Ramayana, there's no Maya Sita. In Kura Purana, there is.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. So with this new concept,
Softer.
so with this new concept of the Maya Sita and the original Sita, could it really be possible that throughout the Ramayana there were multiple instances like this?
Well, you want to know, is there a possibility? We only go by scripture, not possibilities. And because of Matsya, what Ramachandra assured the Brahman who was fasting till death, don't fast till death. It's not possible for Sita to be kidnapped. And then he went and he found the scripture that verified it. But the Brahmana was satisfied just by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's assurance. But, we say things that are under the authority of scripture. So is it a possibility? It's a possibility. But, to say this is this and that's that, we like to see what's the Shastra Praman, please. So it's certainly possible. And again, the concept of Maya Sita is not in Valmiki Ramayana. It's not, doesn't mean it didn't happen, but it's just not spoken of in Valmiki Ramayana.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I really like the class. I don't exactly have a question, but I just wanted to say that I always had a confusion about the validation of Lord Ram bringing Sita back and how that's been validated in the scriptures, and you explaining the different past lives of Krodana, and then also the stories about Bhrigu Muni. It all ties it up together, and I really understand how what prompted Lord Rama to bring Sita back, despite the criticism and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very nice to hear.
Well, one of the principles of proper conduct is the words of a Brahmana are to be upheld. I mean, it may not be your words, but Lord Ramachandra upholds the words of the Brahmana. I mean, there's so many examples of that, the benefit, the protection that Hiranyakashipu wanted when he got the benediction from Brahma, this and that. So he abided by the words of Brahma. He doesn't have to, but he upholds the word of a Brahmana, and just very clever, he figured out a way to punish him. So it's one of the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. He upholds the words of the Brahmana. So across the board, that's one of the characteristics. So Khyati.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for the class. Guru Maharaj, I was thinking of the commonality between pastimes of Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Lord Ram.
Yeah.
So Krishna had to leave Vrindavan, and that's where he left Radharani. As you explained, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to leave his wife as well, and now Lord Ram.
Well, he didn't have to, but he did, yeah.
Yes. So it looks like there is a commonality, and Krishna being so merciful, and these are his eternal and beloved associate, and he's sacrificing it for the words of some ordinary person who criticized him. So is there a lesson for us? Is there a teaching for us in this?
Well, there's many, but one of the main ones is love and separation, and that's a big topic. Love and separation. I know some people that grew up reading Ramayana, and they can't read Ramayana anymore because there's so much sadness. It's sorrow and sorrow and sorrow and sorrow and sorrow and something. They told me when they come to a temple where there's Sita, Lakshman, Hanuman deities, they can't stand in front of the altar. They have to go, because it just strikes the chord of sorrow. It is too much. However, in separation there's sorrow, but in separation there's an ecstasy. It's a stimulation of ecstatic love. That's what secondary rasas are. So if you one day may want to look closely at Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, each of the secondary rasas have a form of Vishnu who is the presiding deity of that secondary rasa. And the secondary rasa for sorrow is Lord Ramachandra. It's right in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Now, the language is karuna, but karuna becomes sorrow because it accelerates or amplifies the intensity of love through separation. So that's a lesson for us is don't see pastimes through the lens of our material experience, because that's not what they are. And we're not to imitate the Lord or his pastimes. But if we're feeling sorrow, it's like grief when there's a loss of a family member or something. It's a natural feeling. But the natural feeling, where does it come from? From the spiritual plane. The distortion of the spiritual emotion comes to this world. We have those feelings because it's a feeling in the spiritual realm. And so don't be surprised when there's spiritual emotion we can't understand, because we're seeing through the lens of the body, eye and mind, material sense of self. So a lesson, back to your question, lesson is when reading scripture, and particularly pastimes, be very careful not to apply material yardsticks to the pastimes, because then we'll never understand. But there's transcendental loving exchange in ways that's hard to understand by worldly estimation.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, time to end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.